Glyndwr's Way, 135 miles from Knighton to Welshpool via Machynlleth in 10 days. Glyndwr's Way has been classed as one of Britain's toughest and most remote national trails, and I can certainly testify to that. Over the course of 10 amazing days, I walked 177 miles. The official distance is actually 135 miles, but my book always tells huge porkies, averaging about 17 to 22 miles each day, with daily gradients ranging between 2,000 and 3,200 feet. This was definitely not a stroll in the park, but it was extremely rewarding and magical, as you will see from the following pictorial account of my journey. Owain Glyndwr, circa 1359 to 1415. The Countryside Council for Wales has produced some great information signs about Glyndwr's Way, like this one, which have been erected at sites of interest along the trail. In summary, they tell us that the trail was named after the Welsh warrior and statesman Owain Glyndwr, who was renowned for his struggle against the English during the early 15th century and came close to establishing a united and independent Welsh nation. The trail starts in Knighton on the Welsh-English border, where it links with the Offa's Dyke Path, which I walked in 2010. It then runs in a roughly northwesterly direction across the Radnorshire Hills and onwards to Machynlleth via Glyndwr. Machynlleth is the halfway stage and where Glyndwr held his parliament in Wales in 1404. After leaving Machynlleth, the trail then runs in a roughly northeasterly direction to Welshpool, where a spur joins up with the Offa's Dyke Path just to the east of Welshpool. Owain Glyndwr was an independent landowner descended from the royal Welsh princes. After he failed to receive justice in a land ownership dispute in 1399, Glyndwr started a campaign for an independent Wales and was declared Prince of Wales in 1400. He became a master of guerrilla warfare in his struggle against the English, and by 1404 he controlled most of Wales. However, the tide eventually turned against him, and by 1409 he had lost 2 castles and much of his support. He became a rebel leader on the run, and although he continued to be a thorn in the side of the English king Henry IV, he was never caught. It is not known where or how he died. I stayed at the Horse and Jockey in Knighton on the eve of my walk, full of trepidation for what I was about to embark on. View from my room at the Horse and Jockey. I was a bit anxious about the ominous look of those black clouds in the background. The clock tower in Knighton and the start of Glyndwr's Way. Day 1. Knighton to Glyndwr, 18 miles. Here I am, heading off from the Narrows in Knighton into the remoteness of the mountainous Welsh interior for 10 days, as I follow in the footsteps of the 15th century Welsh hero, prince and thorn in the English side, Owain Glyndwr. After the hot desert-like conditions that the eastern side of the country had been suffering for several months, it was refreshing to arrive in Wales to a cooler climate and a more verdant landscape. Leaving Knighton and heading out into the hills. Oh no! As I was leaving Knighton on the steeply ascending path, I had to bushwhack my way through this jungle of bracken. By the end of my walk, I had come to hate bracken. In one place I had to fight my way for 2 miles through chest-high, soaking wet bracken which had grown across the trail. Absolutely energy-sapping. Some of my constant and only companions on the trail, with 3 notable exceptions. 1. An amazingly fit male ultra-runner who was training for the Dragon's Back race. 2. An amazingly fit female ultra-runner who was training for the Anglesey Ring of Fire race. 3. 3 lads in their mid-20s who were walking from John O'Groats to Land's End, taking in the 3 peaks en route. Oh, yes, and there were a few cows too. Here's one of the cows. Well, a young bull, actually. Crossing my first moor at Black Mountain as I approach Glyndwr. Day 2, Glyndwr to Abercwmbir, 18.5 miles. More of my ever-constant companions. St. Padarn's Church, Llanbadarn Fyned. Betony was rife everywhere. Betony is a warming herb and great for treating cold conditions of the head and neck, including tension headaches and sinusitis. Betony was traditionally planted in churchyards for protection against ghosts and evil spirits. The word wort derives from the Old English word wort, which means herb or plant with healing properties. Maybe that is why it has also been called bishop's wort. In other words, because it was used in the past by the church authorities for its ghost-busting and other healing properties. Sheep of the day. The sheep along the trail were sporting splashes of all the different colours of the rainbow. Purple did seem to be a popular theme, though. Typical scenery en route to Abercwmbir. St Mary's Church, Abercwmbir. You have to admire and be amazed by the church-building zeal that swept over the country after the Norman invasion. It's incredible to think that just about every single little village and town has at least one church, and they are all incredible architectural masterpieces. Day 3, Abercwmbir to Llanidloes, 19.5 miles. The trail passes through a lovely wood on the way out from Abercwmbir. I met a couple of female Swiss hikers at my B&B in Abercwmbir who told me that they come to the UK regularly for walking holidays because they love it so much here. They were the only people I met walking Glyndwr's way while I was doing it, and it was great having a chat to compare our experiences thus far. Sadly, I never saw them again because they had chosen to take a longer time walking the trail than me. Day 3 Sheep. Sea of Rosebay Willow Herb. Willow herb is an edible plant which is believed to be effective against stomach and mouth ulcers and has traditionally been used for treating many ailments such as migraines, insomnia, infections, colds, minor wounds and burns, etc. En route to Llanidloes. Pugs galore at Newchapel. This dear little dog, his name was Charlie, teamed up with me and followed me for miles until I reached the cottage where the people who lived there recognised him. They told me that he loved following walkers and would have followed me all the way to Llanidloes if I hadn't stopped there. They would promise to return him to his owners again. The centre of Llanidloes. I had a lot of fun trying to learn to pronounce some of the Welsh names, so you'll have to forgive me if I get some of them horribly wrong. The black and white market hall in Glyndwr. The Mount Inn in Glyndwr, where I stayed the night. Day 4, Glyndwr to Glyndwr, 17.5 miles. Crossing the River Severn as I leave Glyndwr. The 220-mile-long river has its source on Glyndwr to the west of Glyndwr. Taking a quick break at the Glyndwr Dam. At the end of day 3, I was horrified to discover that a huge blister was developing under my big toenail, probably caused by racing to catch my taxi at the end of day 1 in heavier walking shoes. At that stage I thought I might have to jack it in. However, my stubbornness paid off, and despite walking in agony for 2 days, ironically also my toughest 2 days on the trail, I eventually managed to walk through the pain by switching to my ultra trail shoes, depicted here, and taking large doses of various pharmaceuticals. Lake Glyndwr. Lake Glyndwr was created in the mid-1960s to control the flow of water into the River Severn, preventing flooding in the winter and providing a regular supply of water in the summer. The lake is more than 6 miles long, 216 feet deep, and covers an area of 615 acres. It provides an ideal habitat for a huge variety of wildlife and birdlife, including peregrine falcons and a pair of breeding ospreys. Ruins of the old lead mine buildings by the Glyndwr Dam. The Afon Glyndwr. The Glyndwr Dam, and the only decent cup of coffee I managed to find in 10 days. Tormentil, an astringent and vulnerary herb. Heading towards a steep climb near Stay Little. That hill looks quite innocent, but it really made me puff and pant. Day 5, Glyndwr to Machynlleth, 23 miles. I walked through a world of mist, heavy rain, strong winds and excruciating toe pain on day 5. This was really tough going, and just as I was starting to lose heart around the halfway stage, I met an amazing ultra runner coming towards me through the mist. He told me that he was training for the 2022 Dragon's Back race, a legendary 6-day, 236-mile ultra-running race which crosses the mountain ranges of Wales from Conway Castle in the north to Cardiff Castle in the south. He probably has no idea how much our little chat gave me the boost that I needed to get me through the rest of my day. I learnt subsequently that he completed the 2022 race in 62nd place, an amazing achievement considering that only 102 or 38% of the 260 runners who started the race actually completed the course. A break in the weather as I started to make my descent towards Machynlleth. Looking back towards where I had come from, in other words, over the top of that mountain in the background. The centre of eco-friendly Machynlleth, which has a lot of alternative shops. The Centre of Alternative Technology, which I visited many years ago, lies just outside Machynlleth. Day 6, Machynlleth to Glyndwr, 21.5 miles. Looking down on Abercegyr. Abercegyr. And again, Abercegyr. Day 7, Glyndwr to Glyndwr, 14.5 miles. Leaving Glyndwr and heading up into the mountains again. The top of Cam Carneth Uhath, and looking back down towards Glyndwr, where I had stayed the night. Embracing my inner dragon. Friendly donkey. Eek! If I hadn't been a farmer's daughter, I might have been spooked by this version of Black Shuck and his family, who I thought I had left behind in Norfolk. But they were just a herd of bullocks who wanted to play. They kept racing ahead of me, stopping to inspect me, and then racing off again. The Can Office Hotel in Glyndwr, my bed and breakfast for the night. My room at the Can Office Hotel. This was one of the nicest places I stayed. Day 8, Glyndwr to Glyndwr and Lake Vyrnwy, 10.5 miles. Triangular-shaped house as I was leaving Glyndwr in the pouring rain. This was interesting because the trail and a stream run along the same course. I guess I was lucky it hadn't rained more. Approaching Lake Vyrnwy and its dam. Getting closer. Convergence of the Perennindod Melangeth and Glyndwr's Way in Glyndwr. Saint Melangeth. Many years before I walked Glyndwr's Way, I had become enchanted by the story of Saint Melangeth. As I was walking the stage between Glyndwr and Glyndwr, the trail took on a new magical nature, although I initially had no idea why. It was not until I discovered that most of this section runs in parallel with a 16-mile local trail called the Perennindod Melangeth Walk that I realized why. Perennindod Melangeth means Melangeth's pilgrimage. According to legend, a 7th century Welsh prince was out hunting a hare, which took refuge under the skirts of Melangeth, the daughter of an Irish king who had come to the area from Ireland and was living there as a hermit. The prince was so overcome by her piety that he gave her the valley as a place of sanctuary so that she could establish a nunnery there. She became Saint Melangeth, the patron saint of hares, and her shrine is in the church in the tiny village of Pennant Melangeth, which is just 7 miles north of Glyndwr. This was just another example of those little coincidences that keep cropping up in our lives. The Lake Vyrnwy Dam. The Lake Vyrnwy Reservoir, which supplies water to Liverpool. The original village of Glyndwr, which was located about 2 miles up the other end of the lake from the present-day village, was submerged when the reservoir was created in 1880. When the water levels are low, as they were this year, it is still possible to see parts of the submerged village above the surface of the lake. Lake Vyrnwy Hotel, where I stayed the night. Day 9, Glyndwr to Mayford, 19 miles. My breakfast view overlooking Lake Vyrnwy. 200 steps up through the Diffnant forest. Hazelnuts. Information about the Anne Griffiths Walk, a 7-mile local walk which takes its name from the celebrated Welsh hymn writer who lived during the latter half of the 18th century. It follows many of the paths that Anne Griffiths would have walked and may well have inspired her work. The River Vyrnwy at Pont Rhogel. Day 10. Mayford to Welshpool, 15 miles. The King's Head in Mayford, where I stayed the night. Looking back towards the mountains of Snowdonia. Typical steep hill on the trail. Ooh, that's Glyndwr in the background. The final sting in the tail, which has to be crossed before Welshpool. Looking towards Welshpool from the top of Glyndwr. The centre of Welshpool and a well-earned cup of coffee. The Shropshire Union Canal in Welshpool. The end of my journey by the Shropshire Union Canal in Welshpool, which is located just off the Offa's-Dyke path which runs close by. Lessons learnt. Glyndwr's Way lives up to its reputation as being a tough trail. Bracken is not my friend. There are over 11 million sheep in Wales. I think I met most of them on Glyndwr's Way. There's magic in them thar hills.